Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And today we're going to talk about my Southern Charms Readathon wrap-up. And much like the month of May, it was a very hit or miss set of choices for me, and I do not know what was going on with my brain, but hopefully whatever it is resetting for June. So first up was Bless Your Heart, and that what for my choice was How to Kiss Your Enemy by Jenny Procter. I read this book. I loved this book, as everybody who knows me knows I love Jenny Procter's books. They are sweet romances, they are funny, they make you cry, they make you laugh, they make you smile, they're perfection. And more importantly, she writes characters who aren't filled with angst and are just not wishy-washy. Hi, Fireball. You showing your dragon? Wow, what a good girl with your dragon. What a good girl. Yeah. Oh, my 6-year-old girl. Ugh. Next up was Heavens to Betsy, and that was The Darkest Evening by Cleeves. I've not read this book yet. I'm putting it in my June pile of possibilities. It wasn't that I started it and I couldn't finish it or any of those things. It just, every time I went to go pick it up, something else came up. Wasn't in the mood. So I haven't read that one. I will read it in June. It's something I want to read. Next up is Chicken and Dumplings. And for that, I read Hounds of the Basket Stitch by Canadeo. I read that in the last full week of May. I will link the video down below. I discussed it in my weekly wrap-up for the last week of May. It wasn't the best installment in the Black Sheep and Company Mystery Knitting Mystery Series, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It's a cozy mystery, and it's filled with dogs, which is appropriate since mine are all playing right below me. Next two books are on my Kindle. First up was A Match in the Making by Jen Turano. I had this as a NetGalley arc. I loved this book. I love this book so much. It is the June book club choice for my book club as chosen by Candace. I am pleased as punch about that. I might even reread it, which is saying a lot, because as you know, I don't reread books, but I just might reread this one. I loved this book. I can't wait to read more from Jen Turano. I can't wait to read more in this series when they come out. Everything about this book is perfect. It is Christian romance. It is Christian historical romance. It is funny. I love the kids in this book. I loved the fact that she writes confident, happy, sure of themselves characters that just get on with life. So, which is in direct contrast to the next book. And that was in the free space that was on the board. I chose He Should Have Told the Bees by Amanda Cox. I will put a picture right here. This was a NetGalley arc for me. I DNF'd this book. This falls into the category of protagonists who are filled with angst and can't make a decision on their own. So, both protagonists in How He Should Have Told the Bees are filled with angst. They are filled with self-doubt. They cannot let go of the past. They cannot move forward. And I was 45% through the book before I DNF'd this one. I couldn't take it anymore. I could not take it anymore. Next up was a surprising DNF. And the prompt was, hey, y'all. And my choice was Three Sisters, Three Queens by Philippa Gregory. I just returned this to Kim on Friday of this week. This was on my personal 2023 Protagonist Pub Reading Challenge to read a book my neighbor lent me. Didn't finish this one. It's the first time I have ever DNF'd a Philippa Gregory book, and I couldn't have been more surprised if you paid me. I got halfway through this one. Tells the story of Princess Margaret of York, Princess Mary of York, and Catherine of Aragon. Three sisters, three queens. Queen of Scotland, Queen of France, Queen of England. It's all told from the perspective of Princess Margaret, who is the oldest child of Henry VII. Her brother is Henry VIII, obviously. And she is a petty, spoiled, immature, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all. She was just... Part of it was a product of her times, and part of it was the fact that she was married so young, and you had to grow up faster in the Tudor court. But still, I couldn't. It's my first ever soft DNF. I may pick it up in the future and finish it, but I couldn't. Next one was Hot as Blue Blazes. And for that, I chose The Sun by Philip Meyer. This too is a DNF. And I was very, very surprised it was a DNF, to be honest. It had been on my TBR for a very long time. I read well past 50 pages, which is my normal cutoff point for am I going to read this or not. It is told from multiple points of view, in multiple time frames. I never figured out who was speaking, what time frame we were in, what they were talking about. Didn't connect to anybody. And thus, DNF. Next, all the Fixins. This was another arc from NetGalley. I chose Daughter of Destiny by Lizzie Lane. This was one of the first book in a trilogy. The name of the trilogy I cannot remember. If I can find it, I'll put it down below. I had all 3 books on NetGalley. I have DNF'd them all. This is a re-release under a different title and a different author name. And I didn't make it through the first chapter. It was poorly written, poorly introducing characters, and I did not want to continue. It just was not for me. Next, last prompt was Howdy Partner, which was a book about friendship or family, and I chose Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Eames. This is adult fantasy. You watched my end of last full week of May video. That too, DNF'd. 100 plus pages in, couldn't care, wasn't feeling the vibe, was really tired of rock band references and grown mature men behaving irresponsibly, and couldn't be bothered. And for my bonus read for Amanda, I read Pieces of Forever by Valerie Bodden. It is the first in the River Falls series. And the reason I chose this is that it is set in Tennessee. It is Christian romance. I loved this book. Everything about this book worked for me. In fact, I love this book so much, I finished this book in the last week of April before the readathon ever started. I didn't care. I loved this book. It was sweet and engaging. And yes, this protagonist is a wee bit angsty, but she still gets on with life and she still moves forward, even if she doesn't lead a completely conventional life. So I ended up really loving that book, and I'm going to read the rest of that series. So that was my Southern Charms Readathon wrap-up. It wasn't successful, but it was successful at the same time. I knocked a lot of arcs off of my NetGalley list. I read some really good books. I read some books that didn't work for me, and that's okay. Not every book works for every reader, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with DNFing a book. How did your Southern Charms Readathon go? Comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.